Now, the great thing about working with keyframes is that if you don't like the timing, you can very easily reposition the keyframes so your event happens earlier or later or faster or slower. So for instance, if I played this back, and this is what we created in the previous lesson, maybe the speed isn't exactly the way I like it. So it takes a little bit longer than I want for the effect to start happening. So if I simply grab the keyframe, I could move it left or right, and now the effect of when it starts turning from black and white to color will happen sooner. And you know, that's fairly self-evident, but what happens when you start adding other effects that you want the keyframes to match up? Well, let's go ahead and add a second effect to this clip and reposition some of the keyframes so I get the look and feel that I want. There's a pretty cool blur effect that I like to use. It's a camera blur, and I'm going to go ahead and just type in camera, and as you see, there's my camera blur. And as much as I love the Gaussian blur, this is really cool because I want this like retro San Francisco image coming to this, you know, kind of future Matrix-like image. So I'm going to grab the camera blur, throw it onto the same clip where we have the other effect, and I can see there's a little stopwatch, so I can toggle my animation on and off. Now, if I just go ahead and play with this effect, I'm going to just go ahead and play with it. You see, it actually looks like a camera focusing, and that's the look that I want to achieve. So ultimately, I want it to be in focus. So in this case, I'm going to work a little bit backwards. When it comes to full color, I want it to be in focus, so I want to line up my keyframes. Well, I could try moving it and lining it up or putting in a marker, but it's a lot easier just to go to the first effect and jump to the exact position of that keyframe. And now if I go down to camera blur and click on toggle animation, I have an ending keyframe that matches perfectly. So now I have my ending keyframe. I want it to be completely in focus, so I bring it to 0, and then I move my playhead back, and I'm going to start defocusing my camera. I'm going to actually move it back a little bit here. So there's a little bit of defocus, and this is kind of a challenge I'm having. It's like, maybe I want the effect to match up with the first keyframe. And the nice thing is if I grab an existing keyframe and drag it left or right, it will automatically snap to other keyframes on that clip. So now I can actually have the focus start changing when the color starts coming in. Let me go ahead and play this and see if I like it or not. You know, theoretically the timing was really nice, but aesthetically it doesn't quite work. It doesn't give me the feel that I want. So I'm going to do a little bit of trickery here. I'm going to add a couple more focus keyframes, and then I might reposition the timing of when it actually comes into full focus. So I'm going to go back here, and that's a good fuzzy point, but maybe what I want is to add a couple more keyframes. Now remember, once a keyframe is created, anytime I make a modification, it creates a new keyframe for me. So I'm going to just move it back a little bit, bring it fully into focus, or not fully, but almost into focus, just maybe 6. And then I'm going to move it back a little earlier, and I'm going to type in some numbers. Maybe we'll type in 20, and we'll go forward a little bit, and I'm going to temporarily bring it completely into focus by hitting 0, but the photographer has missed their mark again, and now we're going to go ahead and bring it a little bit fuzzy. So what the ultimate effect will look like is somebody searching for focus. And I get the effect at the beginning that I like, but obviously my timing towards the end of the clip isn't exactly what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab both of my keyframes. And this is what's really kind of nice. You don't have to move them one effects keyframe at a time. I can actually lasso multiple keyframes and reposition them as a group. So I could have the whole thing coming into focus and into color much quicker. I like that. I like the fact that I get to color quicker. It doesn't seem as boring. I probably would tweak it just a little bit more so that it's fully in focus right before it's fully in color. Let's take one last look and see if I got what I wanted. Not bad.